So, what exactly are defense mechanisms? Defense mechanisms are basically strategies our mind uses, usually unconsciously, to reduce anxiety, to protect our self-esteem, or to help us cope with stress. Think of them like an emotional safety net. Whenever something happens that makes us uncomfortable, guilty, embarrassed, or even afraid, our mind says, "Don't worry, I got this," and throws in a defense mechanism. Now, are these good or bad? Well, both. They're not automatically unhealthy. In fact, some of them are really useful in keeping us stable. But if we use them too much or in the wrong way, they can stop us from facing reality and solving our problems. We use defense mechanisms for survival, emotional survival. Imagine if we felt the full weight of every criticism, every failure, every sad or scary thought all at once. It would crush us. Defense mechanisms are like little buffers, helping us manage life without getting overwhelmed. The problem comes when we only rely on them instead of facing issues directly. Let's go through some of the common defense mechanisms one by one. I'll give you examples too, because that's the easiest way to understand. Denial is one of the most basic ones. It's when we refuse to accept reality because it's too painful. For example, a smoker might say, "No, smoking doesn't cause cancer, that's exaggerated." Or someone who just failed a test might go, "That exam wasn't even important." Denial protects us from the shock of the truth, but it can stop us from making changes we need. This one's fun. Projection is when you take your own feelings and throw them onto someone else. Like, if I'm really angry but I don't want to admit it, I might say, "Wow, you seem angry today." Or someone who cheats in a relationship might accuse their partner of being unfaithful. It's easier to blame others than admit what's happening inside us. Regression is when, under stress, we go back to an earlier stage of behavior, basically acting younger than we are. For example, an adult having a tantrum when things don't go their way, or a teenager curling up with stuffed toys when life gets overwhelming. It's comforting because those behaviors remind us of a safer time. This one is a little tricky. Reaction formation means doing the opposite of what we really feel. Let's say someone dislikes another person but feels guilty about it, so they act extra nice to them. Or a kid jealous of their sibling might act overly protective instead. It hides the true emotion by flipping it. Rationalization is making excuses for something that's uncomfortable. For instance, if I don't get the job I applied for, instead of admitting I'm disappointed, I might say, "Oh, I didn't really want it anyway. The office was too far." It makes the failure feel less painful, even though deep down I cared. This one is very common. Displacement is when we take out our emotions on a safer target instead of the real one. Imagine your boss yells at you, but you can't yell back. So you go home and snap at your younger sibling or kick the furniture. The emotion is real, but we redirect it to something less threatening. Now this is considered a healthier one. Sublimation is when we take unacceptable impulses and turn them into something positive or socially acceptable. For example, someone with aggressive urges might become a boxer or a soldier. Or if you're feeling stressed, you pour that energy into art, music, or sports. It's basically channeling emotions productively. Finally, repression. Repression is when the mind pushes painful or threatening thoughts deep into the unconscious so we don't have to deal with them. Imagine abstract visuals. Hidden or buried thoughts, a person with a shadowed face representing those memories we can't quite reach. For example, someone who experienced a traumatic event in childhood may have no memory of it because the mind has locked it away. The feelings, however, might still find a way out through anxiety dreams, sudden emotional reactions. The actual memory stays hidden, but its effects linger. Repression is powerful. It shields us from overwhelming pain, but doesn't erase the issue forever. Instead, it buries it, waiting for the right moment or a trigger to show up in another form. So, to sum up, defense mechanisms are the brain's little tricks to protect us from emotional pain or stress. Denial says, this isn't happening. Projection says, it's not me, it's you. Regression takes us backward. Reaction formation flips our feelings. Rationalization makes excuses. Displacement takes it out elsewhere. Sublimation channels it into something positive, and repression buries it deep in the unconscious. And remember, these aren't bad things. We all use them. The key is being aware of them and learning healthier ways to cope. Before we wrap up, let's see if you can recognize some of these defense mechanisms in action. I'll give you a few situations, and you can write your answers in the comment section below. Here's the first one. If a person who is always late keeps complaining that others are never on time, which defense mechanism is this? Next situation. A student is scolded by a teacher, but when they go home, they shout at their younger brother. What's happening here? And finally, someone doesn't remember a childhood trauma but still feels anxious in certain situations. Which defense mechanism might be working? Take a moment to think about your answers and share them in the comments. Let's see how many you get right. All right, that's it for today's session. Don't forget to share your answers in the comments. If you have any questions, if something wasn't clear, you're welcome to ask in the comments. I'll be happy to answer. See you in the next lecture. Next time you catch yourself making excuses, blaming someone else, or being extra nice to someone you don't actually like, pause and think. Maybe it's your mind playing one of its clever tricks called defense mechanism.